beautiful day here in Florida, fellow TIs. Now, I was just reading yesterday this article, absolutely horrible, what the FBI did. They did not investigate this case right, and 2 TIs died. And from what I understand, the FBI had discovered the people behind it because when the job was done, one of them posted on a defense contractor's website a review. So there's no arrest concerning the FBI agents which investigated this case and did not do the investigation right. And this is very disgusting right here. Security and intelligence specialist James Baugh, the indicted eBay executive, who said, "I only did the illegal things that the FBI taught me." Now, I'm going to try to see if I can get this article here. I'm in a very rural area, so bear with me. The signal's perhaps not going to be strong here where I'm at. So, these are people which, from what I understand and was told by someone else, are members of a group called Infraguard. And you'll normally notice that they're normally executives, people in the IT field, people involved in security and operations within an organization. And the FBI has been training business owners, how to violate people's rights and get away with it. I mean, look what they did. This is just some of the things. They sent a couple a preserved fetal pig, a bloody pig Halloween mask, a funeral wreath, and a book on surviving the loss of a spouse. This was done by people which have worked with the FBI. The only reason why there were arrests was because there was no way that the FBI could hide this. So this has occurred to other Americans all across the United States. There are people which have come across members of Infraguard. You may be walking and they may just simply show up and take a picture of you and walk back to your car. And they'll walk back to their car. So there was a time in Texas and here in Florida where I would just simply park my car in a parking lot, and let's say I walk 15 steps and the person parks next to me. They jog 15 steps, turn around, do an about face, and go back into their car, and they drive off and leave. And I started noticing this a lot in Texas, and it's not technically considered a crime. So when I went to police, they're like, "Oh, these people seem pretty crafty. You're definitely being harassed, but we can't figure out what organization is doing this. And since each person is doing this one time, the same exact things, how can we call this a criminal matter?" So this is being supported also by the Department of Justice. So TIs are being tracked and harassed by a variety of professionals, groups, doing case management. But if we were to do what the FBI has done, let me give you an example. Remember that governor? She was kidnapped. And this was done due to the FBI supporting this, the kidnapping of an American. Can you imagine if someone kidnapped one of your relatives? What would you do? Would you lay down your life to get them back? I know the FBI agents responsible, I think they would. But do you think they cared? They even gave these guys ammunition and guns. So the FBI is a criminal group, but it's being given immunity. So when it commits crimes, there's no punishment. There's no arrest because it has immunity. There are tens of thousands of cases involving the FBI where lives have been destroyed based on faulty evidence. If you're a TI and you're experiencing such, get out and get into nature. I practice walking meditations. Sometimes I just will enjoy the ambiance of looking at a butterfly. Check out how beautiful it is. And searching for wild animals and bugs. I enjoy doing that. I like getting into nature and getting my binoculars and looking for different species of birds and walking in the middle of nowhere just to get away from it all. Like right now, there's no one out here. I've been coming to this place now for 4 years and I've never seen any person on this trail. I found myself being harassed by veterans upon arrival here. And I remember in my early 20s being harassed weekly. I would go to this Marriott hotel and I knew people that worked there and they would invite me there to go to the pool, have a drink on the weekend, to bring my girlfriend. And they kept asking me, how come every week you're being harassed by elderly men that are wearing these VHW hats, veteran hats? And I told them, I don't know why. And I've gone through this in my 30s, in my 40s, state by state. And I've discovered a lot about this program. But there's not much I can do about it because the government doesn't want to help. These are matters which are very complicated. They require a law firm, not like one or two individuals, a paralegal and a lawyer. A law firm, a group of people which will fight for my civil rights. While I have studied law for a few years, I'm not a lawyer. And my expertise in law is not perfect. And it's time consuming. If you're a TI, it cannot hurt to go to your local law library. Most law libraries are open to the public. Every once in a while I look back because the sign up here says there's wild boar, there's gators, wolves, coyotes, snakes. So I'm just very careful out here. I'm very mindful. It's important to be mindful when you're out, not to so much be in a state of hyper awareness where you're overly paranoid, but it's important that you're aware of your surroundings. Because let me tell you, TIs, there are cases where some of us have been shot, stabbed, mobbed, and beaten to near death. I've seen photos. One TI that I used to chat with that lives in the UK was assaulted by a bunch of people. And it wasn't in an area where there was bars or clubs, it was in a neighborhood. And he had told me, he says, I'm being stalked, I'm being harassed. And he told me that one neighbor called me a pedophile. And I'm like, why? He says, I don't know, I'm not a sex offender, I have no charges on my record. He says, I have kids. He says, I don't know what's going on. And it made me think of a case of this one guy. He was a target, and the FBI just decided that this guy would be a perfect informant. And he said that he didn't want to be an informant. So the FBI went to his family and his friends and said that he was a pedophile. The FBI said that if he would not become an informant, they would destroy his life. I'm sure the guy perhaps contemplated committing suicide. And who knows? Thankfully, he didn't become an active shooter. Because do you think the FBI would have said, we're guilty? Of course not. The FBI is an agency which is corrupt. And if we were to do what it does, we would be in prison for terrorism charges, espionage, inciting violence. The worst charge is treason against the United States government. And isn't that something? That the crimes that we are told that we cannot do and which are illegal are committed by our FBI, our corrupt FBI. So there are targets, which, let me put the AC on. There are targets which are bashed and harassed for years, denied investigations. These targets will contact Department of Homeland Security, local sheriffs, local police, the police chief, emergency management, FEMA, DHS, FBI, Secret Service, NSA, DNI. And did you know that targets aren't getting not one response? Why is that? Whew, I'm cooking in here. So, the FBI not only supports terrorism and supports freaking people out, their activities have been linked to mass shootings and domestic terrorism. So I encourage Congress and our leaders to consider providing more funding for independent groups which can conduct threat assessments and investigate agencies, because we don't have enough oversight. And if our government is not providing oversight and is still funding the same monsters that are harming the people, then how are we going to have access to justice when we can't even live our lives because they're being hacked? Our lives are being intruded into due to Stingray technology. In Texas, I could not even do what I'm doing right now. If I would have drove to that park, the next time I would have went walking there, I would have been harassed by a group of people, a mob, in new cars. You track them down, they go to car lots or leasing vehicles. These people have government contracting specialists to get involved in procurement, to get contracts. Even sheriff's associations are doing this. Not all are corrupt. Let me tell you something. Some of the best people I've met have been sheriffs and cops. But when you're a target, they're going to take the word of the government. And they're going to treat you as if you're a pedophile and a potential terrorist, a drug dealer, the worst of the worst. Because they're not giving you the benefit of the doubt. They want to take the word of the government. Now, if you're a cop and you never heard about these programs, and you're being told you got to work with the FBI, we got to take their word, we got to support interagency stakeholders, you perhaps will go along thinking, you know what, I'm being a good American. I'm serving my nation. I'm working with the agencies which are here to stop terrorism. But what these people are unaware of is that our government is supporting terrorism. The FBI has been supporting it all this time. They're doing this to the most marginalized people, whistleblowers. They're destroying people's lives. Now, not every FBI agent is bad. That's why a lot of citizens are not even interested in going their way. They know it's not all of them. If it was, you have patriots in our nation that would be going and visiting them, saying no more. Not me, but there's some out here. You know, patriots, they're all over this nation. Now, the Bible says that we're supposed to love our neighbors as ourselves. It doesn't say put a bullet in the leg of a swamp monster to teach them a lesson. Thankfully, because if it did, I'm sure there'd be a lot of bullets in these swamp monsters' legs. I wouldn't want to see that. So, and I wouldn't support that. But there are people that are taking this serious. What's going on with the FBI treating Trump like trash, our rights declining. Hold on 1 second. So make sure my battery's not dying. So, if you're a TI, consider leaving the United States. The FBI is not your friend. They're not going to help you. They're supporting this. They're concealing CIA activities. The CIA is doing operations just like the FBI. And don't hurt these people. Let me tell you why. If you shoot one of them, then you're really going to get it. You're going to get killed. These people stage accidents. I've seen how the CIA does it. I can make an hour-long documentary on tactics the CIA uses, showing people's profiles, names, where they live, etc. So there are a lot of people that are hackers that have been digging into this. And in the future, I hope in the near future, we'll be seeing more data leaks exposing this stuff. I don't do it. but I've gone online to different forums researching, and they are TIs that are informing anonymous, different groups. Hey, we're being harassed by Citizen Support. We're being harassed by Department of Public Safety here in Texas. And then you hear about days later, they're being hacked, supposedly by Russians. Well, of course, people are using Russian IPs. And some of these attacks aren't really Russians, they're actually Americans. So the FBI does things outside of the law. And some of these hackers, they put their lives on the line because their lives will be thrown away if they're busted, to get information on the enemy. So that way this will not happen to other Americans. Can you imagine how many mass shootings they've engineered? If the FBI stakeholders would do this to a family, what wouldn't they do to other people? These executives left a headquarters, drove to another place to terrorize these people. That means they had to pay rent, most likely get an apartment, a studio, something. So if they would do this to Americans and violate their due process rights, what would they do to someone else? So if the FBI wasn't dragged into this case by police due to an evidence, the FBI, I'm about 100% sure, over 100% sure, the FBI wouldn't have done nothing. Say, oh, you're a stakeholder. We love you. You're one of us. Imagine this happening to your grandmother, where someone sends a book about losing a spouse in a funeral wreath. The enemy wants to be all the time fearful and anger. Because when you're harassed, it makes you angry. You become enraged. Remember Amar Mateen? His last search was about FBI surveillance. It's not really surveillance. They're stalking and harassing you. They're mobbing you. And then they're utilizing LGBT and transgender out here in the Orlando area and women to do this. Let me tell you something. I don't hurt these people. I'm against violence. I've been in this 26 years. I could tell you some places where FBI agents live at, CIA agents. I don't harass them. I've gone through their trash for years in other states to understand this program and the people that are involved. It's all based on the promotion of domestic terrorism, violence, crime creation. The terrorists aren't overseas. They're not foreign. They're domestic. I'm not anti-government. I'm anti-terrorist. If we were to do what the FBI does, even one time we'd be in prison for life. They would throw your life away. And what they do to us, they do to other people. They do it to families. They conceal what sheriffs do. You know the sheriff in Tampa that was harassing a Vietnam veteran? A veteran? I think she was an Iraq veteran, not a Vietnam veteran. No criminal record, harassing families. Do we see the FBI involved in this? Public corruption? Nah. There's nothing. And the same scumbags that are still doing this are still being allowed to stay in positions of trust. They violated their oath to office, and they're still allowed to stay in there. It's like the NSA. If you're in the military and you're listening to phone calls of people that aren't terrorists, you're my enemy. You're violating my rights. It's different if you're screening for words. But if you're looking at pictures of me naked that I'm showing to my girlfriend or wife, then you're my enemy. You're violating my constitutional rights. Now, I love our troops, the ones that are sincere. But the ones that violate people's rights for money, to me, you're no different than the CIA or NSA. The NSA started the Gulf token incident. They fabricated the story, which led to the Vietnam War, Iraq War, weapons of mass destruction. All these people that died, I lost my leg, I'll do it again for my country. They died based on false intelligence. So, God bless those which serve our nation. But most of what people are taught about our rights is hogwash. Because once you speak the truth, or let's say you change your life, or maybe at one time you were something else, 30 years ago you changed your life, the enemy wants to keep that label on you. Don't hurt these people. Let me tell you why, fellow TIs. These people, I've mentioned it in the past, they will try to hurt you. They'll stage accidents. They'll try to kill you, and they'll use veterans, elderly Masons. We're dealing with pretty much the trash of our society. The bottom feeders below anything you can imagine our country has. They waste billions on security. They get cars and get 30, 40 people to follow you around. Surveillance thing. Just to annoy you, hoping they can promote a mass shooting. That's the trash we have. And I have proof of this. And proof that I've dealt with the CIA in multiple schools. But did you know that our government, or a person or a private investigator can't access those records? So you can't have a strong case. U.S. Army, joint targeting. It's occurring. If you have the money and you're able-bodied and you're a target, don't listen to these TIs. Everywhere you go, there's no hope. You're going to be targeted. Those are people that have lost hope. They don't have faith in the Creator. Okay, still have battery left. So look at other countries. If you're harassed at one place, it's too much, go somewhere else. Keep fighting. Keep running this race. And keep striving to overcome what you're undergoing. Because once you don't, then you've given up. Oh, I'm not giving up. And you shouldn't either. God bless and peace.